Welcome back to the channel, guys. I've had a lot of requests for information about this Ford Ranger, the swap specifically, the parts, what did I use, how hard was it, time consuming, etc. So I'm going to get to it. This is a 2005 Ford Ranger. It was originally a 4-cylinder truck, bought it out of the field in November of 2020. The truck was in pretty rough shape. This is now the third one I've done. Had an 84 chop top, so a little different chassis. Same basic principle. Had a 94 with a fuel injected 5.0 and a C4 and a 8.8. Fun truck, loved it. Had to sell it when I went to nursing school. Kind of regretted it from day one. So fast forward 15 years later, bought this. Again, pretty basic setup. 91 or 92 short block. A buddy of mine, Craig Mays, was nice enough to give me the bottom end. So I took the short block, didn't do anything to it, cleaned it up, threw a set of skip white aluminum 190cc heads on it, put roller rockers, 1.6 roller rockers, B303 cam, Edelbrock air gap intake, quick fuel 650 carburetor. Super happy with how that performs. I wanted this thing to be as basic as possible so that I could drive it every day. If something went wrong, I knew exactly what it was. With that being said, I did do the easy way and went with an HEI distributor just because of the ease of parts and the ease of installation. I know it don't look the best, but it does function quite well. And like I said, this isn't a high performance build. The truck makes close to 300 at the wheel and 3 something torque. Threw the T5 on a Mustang dyno. I didn't build it to be a race truck, built it to be reliable and sound good, which it does. It's been extremely reliable. Pulled it out of the field in November of 2020, put it together and got it on the road in roughly May. I've drove it almost every day since. No major mechanical failures. Little bugs that work out here and there, but have power steering, power brakes, cold AC, hot heat, set it idle, 160 degrees all day long. Hottest this thing's ever got, it's like 190. That's sitting dead of summer, AC on, sitting in traffic. Once in the drive-thru, I think it got up to about 195, 190. But that's it. It doesn't run hot. I run a stock Mountaineer radiator out of a 5.0 Mountaineer with a set of just 10-inch electric fans. Nothing special there. Show you around the truck a little bit more for the ones that haven't watched the other videos. So pretty basic setup. Easy fit. Use the Rick's Rangers motor plates. Highly suggest that you go that route. Much easier than trying to make your own. They're 50 bucks, 40 bucks, something like that. Run the stock 4.0 style motor mounts. Also, the headers are just Headman 67 to 69 Mustang tri-Y headers. They bolt straight up, clear everything, even clear the steering. I didn't have to dent or actually I didn't have to do anything really. They just sat right in there. I took it to an exhaust shop and had it fabbed up from there. It cost me a couple $100 for the exhaust. I run a 2.5-inch exhaust into MagnaFlow, I don't know what series mufflers, and then out the side, kind of like a lightning style. Everything else, Ford Explorer accessories up front. That's a Ford Explorer alternator, water pump, power steering pump, everything. It's all Ford Explorer. As far as the transmission goes, I ended up going with just a stock, I think it's a 96 or 7 Mustang V6 Fox body. It's a V6 Mustang, but I used a Fox body input shaft. That's the only modification I made to that. And then I used a Fox body bell housing. Used a pretty standard stock pressure plate and clutch. 270 or 240, I think it's a 240Z slave cylinder. They make an adapter kit. I can list the part numbers below if needed, but I use the stock Ford master cylinder for the clutch. I didn't do any modifications to it. I bought a adapter. I think it's a 3AN line that screws into the fitting on the 240Z, and then they make an adapter that fits into the fitting for this Ford master or slave cylinder, however you want to call it, master cylinder. But it works fine. I can still shift it 63, 100-ish RPMs, no issues. I had the truck repainted. Obviously, it was a tan color, so I had it all swapped and took everything out, including the cab. Took bed off, everything out of the cab. Seat-wise, I've had a lot of people ask me about the seats. They're really nothing special, but they are very comfortable. They're 2007, I believe, Mercury Mount Mariner SUV seats, small SUV. I use the factory style Ford Ranger seat slides and directly bolted in the passenger side because I did not want somebody busting out my rear window. So it's pretty far back and then it's bolted in solid. Driver's side is still adjustable completely forward and back. Got about, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches of travel. I did hook up the heated seats. They work amazing, super hot on both sides. Shifter wise, I've had a lot of people ask me about the location shifter. Shifter set's perfect for me. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better location. It's much better than the shifter location I had on the Mustang. Have no problem shifting it. Gauge wise, I did not bother even trying to wire up the factory Ford speedometer or tach because it's carbureted. So I went with a $20 US or GPS mounted speedometer. It works perfect. I don't have any issues there at all. When the key's on, it's on. I also just ran Bosch temperature gauge, voltage meter, and oil pressure, and then I run a just a old $40, $50 tach. It works fine, no issues. I have no problems whatsoever. The gas gauge still works. I did make sure that it was functional, so I do have a working gas gauge. Otherwise, pretty much basic. I've drove it like this all summer, had no issues. These are Weld RTS wheels, front and rear. Obviously, most people know what those are. 17 front, 15 rears. They're 15 by 10. The tires are 275, 60, 15 ET Street, Mickey Thompson ET Street. They do fine on here. They hook really well. I do have the factory bumper. I did not want to go with the row pan. I wanted some protection. Somebody bumped me at a red light, so I had it redone and painted to match the truck. I'm getting ready to have the only thing I really have left. I'm getting ready to have the bed right on line because the bed's nearly perfect inside, but I do want to have it right on line. But interior wise, pretty clean. I feel like did a decent job in there. Kid picked out the colors. Again, it's my 7-year-old son, so I let him kind of pick out what colors he wanted, and he picked it out. Interior's still a little dirty. I haven't cleaned it up much. But yeah, that's it for the Ford Ranger. Like I said, pretty basic, simple combo. It's been extremely reliable. I can't really complain. This motor has quite a few miles on it. I think my buddy said it had well over 150 when he let me have the bottom end. It does have a little blow-by. It's had blow-by since the day I put it in. We knew that when I picked it up. That's one of the reasons it was free. It doesn't really use much oil. It uses a quart between oil changes. Nothing you wouldn't expect. It has a little, you can see it. If you're wide open, you'll see a little puff of smoke here and there, but it doesn't do it at idle, and I'm not super concerned with it as long as it runs fine and idle fine and doesn't get hot. I do have plans to put a stroker motor in it with a blower. I usually boost everything, so this is probably no exception. I have back here in the corner a built old stroker. It's a 383. Yes, 383, not 393. It's a 383 stroker. It's a Windsor. Should be a pretty high revving. Depending on the head, it should make around 10.5 to 1. It's going to go in this car eventually, and the motor out of it may end up in this. The Mustang is a 94. It's a much more extensive build. Still extremely streetable. Power steering, power brakes, power everything, heat, air condition. This car kind of got me started. I know it looks like it's canary yellow, but it's not. It's actually been color swapped to zinc yellow. I did the same thing. I stripped it down, pulled all the interior, etc. Did everything, door jambs, trunk, everywhere. Had it painted. Did not like the canary, so I went to zinc. Some people love it, some people hate it. My car, it don't bother me. I like it. Pretty slick car. Had it painted about 7 years ago. This car at Lee Blankenship's dyno made, if I remember correctly, 642 and 621 at the wheels. It runs extremely well for what it is. It's a very mild motor for what it is. Interior in this car is also pretty clean. I keep it, yeah, I don't want to go over the top, but I keep it very clean. It's DVD player works. All the gauges, of course, work. I'm more of an old school guy. I don't care about having one gauge that does it all. I like to know what's going on at that exact moment. So I have a lot of gauges. Got a AFR, of course. I've got a fuel pressure gauge. I've got a boost gauge. I've got an oil temp, an oil pressure, a water temp, and a trans temp. So quite a bit of stuff. The transmission is an AODE built by Darren Birch out of Indianapolis. He's kind of the go-to guy. Didn't see exactly eye to eye with that guy during the build, but I can't say anything bad about the transmission itself. He did an excellent job. Car performs exactly like he said it would. I control it all with this box. If you haven't ever looked into it, it's a Quick 4 US shift box. It is an amazing piece of equipment. You can set 4 different tunes on it. I've got a tune where I drive it. It pretty much performs just like a stock vehicle. And then I've got more progressive tunes that goes. 2 is a little stiffer shift points. 3 is kind of like my street strip when I'm driving around. I want to get a little aggressive. And then 4 is pretty much just an all-out race tune, line pressure maxed out. Shift points are at the highest, 6,400, etc. The really nice thing about this box that I think kind of puts it above the rest, and it's just something I like. It's nothing serious, but I don't know if you can tell, but on this shifter, I have 2 buttons. I bought this shifter and had this all custom made. I sent it to it's a engraver and shifter add-on company in, I think, Australia. But anyways, had those buttons put on the side, and those are downshift and upshift buttons. So I have the advantage of I can leave it in first gear or in drive. I put it in drive and use those buttons just like a new car, like a paddle shifter, except for they're on the shifter. You can actually wire them into your cruise control module. But again, I'm not a huge fan of that. I wanted it down there where I could control it. This car is a 94 roller block, 351, out of, I think, a van is what I got this out of. It has TRW forged pistons, Eagle rods, stock crank, ARP, all the hardware is ARP hardware. I used a set of old school 192 cam-filled heads. They're not ported or polished or anything like that. As far as I know, they're pretty much stock. I think they might have been smoothed over at some point, but I don't have no guarantee of that. The cam is an off-the-shelf Trick Flow Stage 2. The intake is obviously a Trick Flow Box R with a 90mm throttle body and a 3-inch piping neck down to fit this old school V3 SI Vortec blower. It's pretty much maxed out. That's where my power limits kind of lie, is the blower is just, it's not really big enough to keep up with the motor requirements. It makes 14.5, 15 pounds depending on the day. And I don't really have any belt slip issues that I know of, but I run a 2.75 upper with a stock lower, and then I use E85 for cooling purposes because I don't have an intercooler, and I run about 24 degrees total timing. Again, it's tuned by Lee Blankenship, so that's about as much as I know on that kind of the tuning edge of it. It's, like I said, it's very streetable. I've drove this car from Shepherdsville, Kentucky to Bowling Green multiple times. I drive it in the summer. I mean, I don't really have any trouble. It runs about 200 in traffic. The winter plans is I'm going to upgrade to quite a bit larger radiator and fans. I want to get it down into the 180s at all times, but even at 200, it's not bad. It has a built 8.8 that's welded, braced. It's got 355s, which really I need to switch at this point now that it's no longer a manual car, it needs to be switched over to maybe even a 410. It would probably pick up quite a bit in the quarter. I've only had the car to the track one time. That was last year, not this year, but last year at the NMRA Nationals. I ran True Street, ran a 30-mile cruise, never had been on the track, didn't adjust anything, didn't take anything out of the car, hot lapped it. It ran a 1090, first pass ever off the trailer. Ran a 1080 and then a 1070. And final pass was a 1053. I actually got the time slip up here with the car picture. 1053 and 128. I did discover at the end of that run that I did have some belt slip. I hadn't tightened the belt up in probably 2 years, and I could see the belt slip. That's probably why the mile an hour is a little low. But I did short shift to 5,800, and I did only launch at about 2,100. I can get it on the foot up to about 26, 27 as best I can tell. So it's got a little bit left in it. I would say on a cooler day, lower IET temps, I could probably get maybe into the low 10s. It's going to go 9s with this combo, whether I have to turn the boost up more or put nitrous on it, but it'll go 9s the way it sits. And then I'll put that 383 in it. But for now, pretty happy with the performance of it. It's been a fun build. I've done every single bit of the work to this car as far as building it. It was bone stock when I bought it 10 years ago, stock down to the mufflers and air filter. It had a Mako paint job. It was terrible. Had it stripped and painted within about a year of having it, 2 years. That's 2 years of having it. I put the 4-point cage in it. It's a Maximum Motorsport. Really happy with the quality of it. I didn't want a full cage. Just wanted something to protect me if I rolled it over. It's got a set of subframe connectors. Nothing major. There's nothing really crazy stands out on this as far as the build goes. It's all pretty mild stuff, but I've tried to take my time and plan it out. When I was building this, I didn't have a whole lot of money at the time. I was straight out of nursing school and just didn't have the money to do the crazy build that some of these people do. But I know 642 horsepower nowadays ain't nothing crazy, but this car weighs 3,290 pounds. So it's a decent power to weight ratio. I plan to make 900 with the next motor and plan to make around 500 with this truck when it's all said and done, maybe 550. So hope y'all are enjoying the channel. If y'all have any more requests or have any more questions, let me know. I'd be glad to try to help out where I can. Subscribe and like. Thanks, guys.